Hello YouTube. So you guys might have seen in my previous videos that I was using a spreadsheet to calculate my DPS. Um, this is a spreadsheet that was created by a close friend of mine, The Filed, and one of his friends, Myth. And throughout the process of them making it, I've been contributing with the sheet. I've helped set up a few things for the sheet, but the majority of the work did go to these two, and I do think they deserve a shout out for that. I'm going to make a quick video, essentially just explaining how to set up the sheet. So this sheet currently only supports Spellburst. The sheet is slowly being updated to support more builds. Initially, this was made for Erica 2, Thea 3, and Bing 2 in mind. But this is slowly getting worked on and developed to eventually encompass all the characters in the game. So please just bear with us while we're working on it and updating it. But if your character is supported, you can just, you can reach out on my stream, you can ask the file, whatever, to make sure it is fine and working for your character. I'm going to give you a quick guide on essentially how do I set this up? How do I set this up? How do I get my accurate DPS? My first and biggest recommendation for this is to do this with below 5 trillion DPS. Because like, if I hit the target dummy, I'm just doing 5 trillion. I can't get a lot of information off this because, I'm hitting for 3 trillion every hit. This is without me having even my, my correct setup on. Unlike damage setup on. So, the way I set up this sheet is when my character had 3 trillion on the dummy, I set up the sheet, I imported all of my information from my character, and I kept tweaking it and making sure everything is right until I eventually reached the exact same number on the sheet as I have in-game, and at that point I knew I'm correct. And since then, I've been updating it, and I know it is correct, and there's things I can do to check it, like, for example, my crit rate says 103.07%. If you actually look in-game, you're gonna see my crit is 10307. Okay? Okay. So I'm just gonna run you through what you do to set up, right? So for starters, we get to the first part, we have a gear part, rare chest, okay? What does my chest have that gives me damage? It has the implicit, which is 8% LE pen, 7% armor pen. So I put in 8 LE, 7 armor. It has you can cast 1 additional curse. Now this line is irrelevant, but the curse effect isn't. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go from the entry sheet to the calculation sheet. This is work in progress. Eventually you'll be able to put everything in entry, but for now you still have to use some stuff in a calculation sheet. Just a pro tip for the sheet. If it's marked in green, it means you're supposed to add value. You're supposed to add values. If it's not green, like white, yellow, blue, whatever, don't change the values. Those are not for you to edit. So if we go into calculations, you're going to see that we have curses, all of this is green. So at each curse, I'm going to put 10% increased curse effect because that's how much I'm getting. And because I have 1 additional curse, I'm simply going to fill in 2 curses instead of only filling in 1 curse. Now, why 39? Like, how did I get rid of that number? That's quite simple. If you look at my gear, it says triggers level 20 biting cold, triggers level 20 timid, and if we go into IDB and we look at the 2 curses, at level 20 of biting cold, it makes us do 39% additional cold damage. That's why we do 39, and it's the same for timid. Okay? Then the next thing we'll enter is int. Very straightforward. We just say 72 int. Transferred elements. This is defenses. The sheet is only for offense and calculating the damage, so this is not relevant. Same for Roshraz. But here's the first interesting one. Inflicts cold infiltration. So there's no place here to add cold infiltration. What am I supposed to do? And I have 60% cold infiltration effect. Like, how do I calculate this? So the way we currently do it is if you scroll down, you're going to see there's a custom modifiers affixes where you can put in your own custom modifiers, your own custom affixes. So you see here, I have cold infiltration from the chest. Well, cold infiltration makes it that the enemy takes 13% increased damage. So I'm going to put down 13%, just 13, because that's how much we're going to take. But it also has 60% increased effect. So we're going to multiply this 13 by 1.6. Because, you know, if you increase 100 by 6%, you get 160, right? Well, 100 times 1.6 is 160. Okay? And then we end up with 20.8% increased damage taken from the enemies. And that's how we fill in these custom modifiers. Now, boots, you know, same thing with hasten. Everything else here is like obvious. Same thing with hasten, you know, you do it in custom modifiers. On the rings, here's another thing, okay? So we have here base affix, max focus passing, 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 max focus passing. Where do I put these max focus passings? What you're gonna do is you're going to go again to the calculation sheet. You're gonna go find the blessings, and here where it says focus blessings 4, in the green section you can add your focus blessings. You know, so I am getting from my gear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So gear is giving me 6. You know, talents are giving me 2. Slates are giving me 2. And then I get to the 14 that I have right now. Okay. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, so Cleric Wand, okay? Plus 120% spell amplification roll. Where do I put this? Well, it's going to be the exact same thing. The sheet does not calculate your sealed mana for you. You do have to do that on your own. But if we go to the calculation sheet, we see we have auras 1, 2, 3, 4. My build only uses 2 auras. And if you look at the 2 auras, Precise Spell Amp gives 46% additional. That's why Spell Amp, 46. And then I have 10% for Aura Amplification. I have 35% for Precise Concentrated. And I want 20% because that's how much I'm gaining from my wand. Electric Conversion on the other side is only giving me 44.5%. And it only has Aura Amp plus Concentrated. So it's 10 plus 35. Okay. And so this is another interesting one to look at. 10% additional damage on critical strike. My build has 100% crit damage. So, you know, this isn't relevant to me. But let's say you only had 80% crit. You know, how do I enter that? What you're going to do is you're going to go on your wand. You're going to go equals if, and then we first do an if check. If this number is greater than 100, we just do 10. Otherwise, we do... Otherwise, we do this number divided by 10. So let's say that you have, you know, 89% crit chance, and you divide that by 10. Well, you're going to be doing 10% additional damage 89% of the time, which averages out to 8.9 additional. Okay? A lot of these things within the sheet is kind of, you just have to use your own logic and brain for it, right? Another thing, Swabber's short speed. You might ask, like, where do I put Swabber's short speed on? There is a slide at the bottom here that shows way more stuff. You know, like, Swabber's short speed is all the way in the back here. Max Swabbers are all the way in the back here. Which is just something important to note. Now, there's a few things that might be a bit harder to enter. Just occasionally there's things that you have to calculate yourself, that you can't just enter a number and that's it. Another example would be on an amulet. So on my amulet, I've set mana, so it doesn't matter. But let's say that you had a 1% damage per 12 stats. How do I enter that? Well, you would go on the amulet, you would say equals, go to your dashboard, and you would first add all of these numbers together. You would divide it by 12, which is then going to give you 75.66. Like, that's obviously not a real number, right? You know, that's not how much you get. So what you're going to do is you're going to round down. Because when you round this number down, it's going to give you a whole number, and you get 75. You know, you get 75 flat damage with my current amount of attributes. If you, you know, add all attributes together and divide by 12. And a similar thing is, okay, how do I add the damage from Israfels? Because you might see here, Israfels 252. How do I do this? Well, I have an 18% corrode on it. So I just simply take the number on the calculations, which is my total blessings, which is 14. I just take this 14 and I multiply it by 18. And then I get my blessing number. Same thing with the crit damage. Blessing number multiplied by 4. Same thing with slates. If we go down to where my slates are, you're going to see here, I have the slate, which is like 5% crit per focus blessing, this thing. I just multiply that 5 by my focus blessing count, which is calculated on this sheet. And then following from that, once you've imported all of your gear, and as far as I can tell, I'm not missing anything that's like worth talking about. Spell aggression is going to be the exact same thing. You just do it in custom config. And things like plus levels, you put the plus level under skill level, but if it affects the level of, like, for figuring out how much you're gaining from each skill, we don't calculate that for you. You just have to put it in. So, like, a good example is Origin Unleash. Secret Origin Unleash gives me 19.4% spell damage. So if I go down to my links, you see here, Secret Origin Unleash, I need to put in 19.4%. Now, this wasn't updated. I only had it at 18.5 because, I've gotten this plus level since updating the sheet last. That's just my mistake. Same with Icebound, 37.4. So it's 37.4. And I times it by 1.3 because well-fought battle. Secret Origin Unleash, I also would use well-fought battle now for. So I will just do equals this times 1.3, because well-fought battle gives you 30% effect. Simple as is. And I do 3 times 8 because I have over 14 focus blessings. And this cast speed per focus blessing stacks up to only 8 times. As simple as that. Another option that I could even consider doing is like doing Blizzard. And equipping, Blizzard of Freezing Point. Because baseline Blizzard gives 10% additional cold damage. And then if you increase it by 226 effect, now it's giving me 32.6% additional damage. But I believe that to be slightly worse than Secret Origin. And yeah. So let's continue from the gear section to the talent section before we get too sidetracked. So here, I have my 3 4 talents: God of Knowledge, Magister, Assassin, Steel Vanguard. You see increased damage. The way I did this is literally, I just went in my sheet and I went 27. 27 plus 54 plus 30 plus 27. And that's it. Then I get 138 and I put that in. Same thing with cast speed. You go through, 9% cast speed, 8% cast speed. That's all the cast speed, 27. I'm getting 72 int, so I put in 72 int. I'm getting 105 crit chance, I'm getting 15 crit damage, etc. And you're literally gonna go through every tree and just do this. Even with inverse, on trees like this with the inverse image, you do need to account for that. So, this is 5% spell crit damage per stack of focus blessing with 50% effect. So on the sheet, I literally went and put 12.5 times my focus blessing count. Why 12.5? Because 5 for this plus 5 for this times 1.5, because it's 50% effect, is 7.5, and boom, 12.5. And you times that by 14. You get 175 crit damage from focus blessings. As simple as that. And you'll also see that, in this sheet, I also put in that I get 3 spell bursts, because I'm getting 1 from this, and I'm getting 2 from this. Please note that this 50% does round 1 up to 2, because I'm getting 1.5 spell bursts, that rounds up to 2 in this game. Yeah. It's just going to be the exact same thing, basically. Through every tree, you're going to do this. including like, so Vanguard, you know, I'm getting 50 crit, 50 crit, 50 crit. So then I just put down 150 crit from So Vanguard, etc. And like here, I'm getting 8% additional. So I just went on the additionals and just put in 8%. Now, what do you do if you get multiple additionals in one tree? Is there a tree like that in the game even? I don't even know if there's a tree in the game that has that. I mean, okay. I don't know if there's a tree that has that, but let's say you have a tree that has 10% additional and another 10% additional. Like 10% additional when life is sealed, 10% additional when you cast a spell, you know, whatever. The way you would enter that is you would have to do it like this. You would have to type equals 1.1 times 1.1 times 100. Oh, sorry, times 10. No. Yeah, it is times 100. That's stupid. Oh, I'm stupid. You would do 1.1 times 1.1 times 100 minus 100 to get your proper additional. You know, which, that is one way you could do it. Or another way you could do it is you put 10% here, you know, 10% for that one 10%, and you put the other 10% somewhere else, like in the custom config. And that's also going to give you the same number without you needing to do any math yourself. Okay? But yeah, I don't even know of a tree that has like that you would need to worry about that. Okay, let's continue. So core talents, it's exactly what it sounds like. The clear vibe gives 25%, 25%. Insight gives 30, 30. Play safe, for play safe, you just go to calculations, and here where it says play safe, you just take it. That's all. If you have law of greed, you take law of greed. You know? I don't think law of greed plus play safe are working together though. I don't think they're incorporated together yet, unfortunately. Queer angle. So queer angle, what we're gonna do for that is we're gonna go down here to our main skill, and we're going to tick lucky damage. Because for lucky damage, you actually have a complicated formula. This is something that I, like, you know, contributed to the project, was giving them the formula for lucky damage and like telling them about that difference. There's also a few other things, but like it's not important. Tainted Flesh doesn't give us damage, we don't care about it. Bunch, so Bunch is going to give us 3 times our focus blessings. So it's just 3 times 14, which is giving us 42% additional, which is fucking insane, by the way. Then memories. I mean, memories are exactly what you think they are. You know, if you have plus hero trait levels, you're going to change that on the hero trait exact specifically. So if you scroll down, you have traits here, level 45, 60, 75. You're literally just putting in how much damage each trait gives you. So at this at level 5 is giving me 40% additional, so I just put in 40. At level 75, this is making the enemy take 75% additional, so I just put in 75. You know, it's that simple. And like, let's say that I had this additional spell with short speed. I would literally just put that under, what do you call it? Under your additional spell burst charge time value. Either there, or you put it under additional cast speed. I'm not sure exactly which one would be correct, but both will give you the same answer. Because we either way aren't spellcasting, we are just, you know, fully doing spell bursts. Okay. And then hero memories. I rolled this. This has double crit on it. So, just do double crit. This has spell crit and Magus effect. So for Magus effect, we don't have Magus effect yet implemented in the sheet, So what I did instead is I literally went and just calculated myself quickly down here. You know, I said memory 2, 20 megas effect. Memory 3, 15 megas effect. Drapion Lady is giving me 68. I'm getting 60 for my dual Kismets. Is obviously, okay, so this is giving me, you know, 40 plus 7 plus 7 plus 14. And then each dual Kismet for Fire Plume and Dark Moon will give me 30 each. And I find the Magi. And then I calculate the origin effect for my Kismets. Because when you do the Kismets, you know, they're not supported by Friend of the Magi, obviously. So they're not getting that effect. Whereas the ones from my tree, sorry, the ones I've equipped are supported by Friend of the Magi. And I even have it added here for when I get superpower, precise superpower. I just have not bought that yet. And then because I'm using Source, it has a 1.3 multiplier. And then I just finally calculated this. In the future, you won't have to do this yourself. But for the time being, you do need to currently do this yourself, unfortunately. And the way that we implemented it is, if we go to here, if you go to link/auras, under passive 1, passive 2, I just added 5 megas. And I just do base 115, because that's how much, you know, level 25 megas gives you. And I multiplied it by this multi, which is my, you know, this is my multipliers. Kismets. Equipped. So I just multiplied with this multiplier to get my crit rating from the Fire Megas Kismet. And for the Thunder Megas, which is not a Kismet, I multiply its values with this number. And if we look at the Thunder Megas quickly, you'll see that it gives me 6% cast speed, 12% additional damage to the summoner. And the actual formula is 12 multiplied by that number, and 6 multiplied by that number. Okay. And then we'll get to that in a bit. That's pretty much it, all that you need to know about the memories and Origin of Megas effect. Next up, the pets. I literally just go into my pack page, and anything that gives me damage, you just add. So this crit, you add all of them up, and I get 89% crit chance. You know, none of these give me damage, so they aren't relevant. The deal Kismets, we're doing in a different section, so we just ignore them. Here, elemental damage, pen, cast speed. And we just add damage, we add the cast speed, we add the pen. Okay. Also, don't forget about your undetermineds. You know, if you don't have an undetermined equipped, you're getting 6% damage, which is why this has a 6 here. Okay, next up, slates. Slates are very easy. You know, you just click on your slate. It gives me this crit mode, so then I calculate the crit mode. It gives me 10% additional. I just put on 10% additional. This is giving me focus blessings. We're doing focus blessings somewhere else, so we just ignore it. But it's giving me spell burst, cast speed, and spell level. So I just put in 6% cast speed. I put in my 1 spell level, and I put in my 1 spell burst, because that's what I'm getting. And then all these are all the same. For the prairie, you can literally just click on the prairie and click on this, and just write that down. So the prairie is giving me 2 levels, actually. Oopsie. It's giving me 2 levels, 1 jump, and 10% additional. Yeah, I messed around with my sites a bit, so I forgot to update the 2 levels here. Which it happens. I should double check everything though, not that I'm here. So for this Fallen Starlight, it generates me locust things, and it gives me paralyzing the enemies. Instead of doing that, instead of manually calculating that here, what I'll do is for the agility blessings, we're gonna go to our dashboard, and we're literally gonna tick paralyze, and we're going to tick agility blessings, because that's what we're getting. And, you know, life again doesn't matter, resurrect doesn't matter, skill area ripping 0 doesn't matter. This one gives 9% damage, so I literally went and put in 9% damage. And the rest of the mods here don't matter. which this isn't even the one I use normally. I normally use this one. So I can actually remove this 9% damage because I changed my slates up and stuff. So, some of these numbers are a bit inaccurate because I set it up for SS20. And since then, I've like done some changes for mapping and I haven't been updating the sheet. But, you know, it's as simple as just double checking things. Now, another stat that we have here is jumps. And there's no place to put jumps in the sheet yet. So how am I dealing with jumps? I've already explained how jumps work in the previous section, but essentially right here at the bottom, we say jump multi. We have 5 jumps in the build. So we get 100% additional damage from the jumps. Why 100% additional? Because that's just how Chain Lightning Merge works. You know, every jump you have is 20% damage of your Chain Lightning. So if you have 5 jumps, you're shooting out 5 extra Chain Lightnings, which each do 20% damage of the original Chain Lightning. So it's just 5 times 20, or 100. Okay? But I'm realizing this is not easy to follow at all. I'm so sorry. Another thing, so we don't have a frail toggle yet, I believe. So what I did is in custom modifiers, I literally went and added frail here with 15. Because that's how much damage you get from frail, because we don't have a toggle for it yet. And then both source and bunch, we just put in the slate, you know, we put these in the main talent section, in the core talent section. Okay, let's continue. So links and auras. This is where we put basically everything down. So our Chain Lightning, you know, the Chain Lightning we put down at the bottom here, where we say the, you know, you say the min roll, you say the max roll, you say how much percent damage you have, if any, you say if you do lucky damage or not, if you have level 21 skill, etc. You know, you just fill this in. Base crit's always going to be 500 for spells, and then add effectiveness damage, you know, 177%, and we'll calculate and do everything else for you. But you need to manually add your support skills yourself. So here we have Psychic Burst. Now you can see Psychic Burst, additional damage 51%. I don't have anything in cast speed, but you might see that Psychic Burst has 6% cast speed for the support skill. This is not cast speed that goes to your character. This is cast speed for when you hold down right click and you shoot the button. This cast speed is irrelevant. We are playing an automated build. We are never holding down right click. That is not something that we think or worry about. So this cast speed is irrelevant and we don't add it in. Don't fall trap for this, because if you add the cast speed here, you're going to have more hits per second than you should, and you're not going to get the correct numbers, and you're going to get annoyed at it. You know, Lightning to Cold, 29%. Overload is 4.55 times 8, because we have over 8 focus blessings. So 4.55 times 8. You know, add Wave Lighting at your merge. And because we have, you know, I have this level to 3, it gives 8% additional. And this gives 20% additional because it's level to 5. I just add your merge 20, Web of Lighting 8. Because that's how much percent additional I'm getting from both of these. And then any support skills that I have, I'm also adding. So like Thunder Spike is giving me 63% numb effect. Because, you know, I have a Thunder Spike specifically set up to give numb. And Free Transmission is irrelevant. We can ignore that. Triggered Origins Unleash is giving me, you know, 19.4 times 1.3. And it's giving me the 3 times 8 cast speed. So I added that in. I added both Megases here because I don't know where else to put them. And you could, in theory, also do the Megases like, you know, in the aura section. The main reason we do them here is because they give stats more than just damage. You know, they give crit rating, they give cast speed, and those are things that need to be separately calculated. You could also just put these in custom modifiers if you run out of space. Your trait are explained, custom modifiers are explained, and that's pretty much it. So other things that we might not have added, let's look through. So here we have num. If you do everything correctly, this should just calculate your num for you. You know, if you're going everywhere you need to go and just adding the num effect, like 20 here, 63 from the support, etc. But if you're playing like Erica, for example, you're going to have some multipliers of num that you need to add manually here. And then here you can also say, you know, how many stacks of num do you have? Because not every build can have 10 num stacks. And whether or not you have conductive. We're putting our blessings in the blessings section. None of these matter for my build. You put your auras in the aura section. You put your curses in the curse section. Now, here is jumps. I don't know if this actually works. Oh. Okay, I'm stupid. You don't have to do jumps in a custom config. Apparently it's already done for you. I just didn't see that. Okay, just do your jumps here. Put chain lightning. Wait, this is... I'm so stupid. I literally made this myself. I literally implemented this myself for them. I completely forgot I made this. I didn't know they implemented it already. Because I suggested and made it for them. Oopsie. Oh well. And I believe that's everything. So, if you do everything, you should at some point in time have a number here. Oh, wait, it's not implemented yet. This isn't going anywhere. Okay. Never mind, never mind, never mind. The jumps are not yet calculated in. So you still have to put in custom modifiers. This is work in progress. They eventually will add it. I'll bring it up with them that it's not implemented correctly yet. But yeah, after all is said and done, you should have some numbers here on your dashboard. And you should be able to check in-game and compare these numbers to see if they're accurate or not. So the ideal one is, let's say you have 3 trillion DPS, go hit the target on for 2 minutes straight and see how accurate this number is. When I was testing it, it was dead on accurate. It was completely accurate. You can also look at your attributes. Do you have the same attribute in game? Do you have the same crit chance in game? Or crit rating in game? Are you getting the same amount of blessings in game? You know, just like go through everything and make sure everything is fine. But anyway, that's gonna be it for me, YouTube. Oh, I guess another thing is you could also just double check your cast and speed and stuff. So here we have increased cast speed, which is 134%, and here we have storage draw speed, which is 157%. If I go and hit the target now, you'll see right now that it shows here. Where is that? It shows cast speed bonus 155%. Where's spellburst speed? And your spellburst charge speed 298%. These numbers should match what you have in the sheet. So your cast speed bonus should be the same, and your spellburst charge speed should be the spellburst speed minus your cast speed. You know? So let's say you have 300 cast speed. Let's say you have 300 spellburst charge speed and you have 10% cast speed. You would do 300 minus 200, and you should have then 100 spellburst charge speed. So for me personally, I have 298%, and my cast speed bonus is 157. But you also, oh wait, sorry, let's do this again. So I have 298. My cast speed bonus is 157, but this is including Psychic Burst. And again, this 16% doesn't do anything for us, right? So what you're actually going to have is 141% cast speed bonus. So we have our 298% minus 141, and we get 157. And you can see on the sheet, this is 157. Now, interestingly, this number is incorrect in the sheet. I am missing 7% cast speed somewhere in my build, like somewhere in the sheet. So, I wasn't planning on doing this at first, but let's go through and let's fix it so I can show you guys how to troubleshoot this sheet a bit. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through cast speed. We're going to look at every source of cast speed we have. So first we have our boots. 10% cast speed from boots, that's correct. We are short 7% cast speed. So this could just be a divine being different. For example, you know, I did a bit of divining. So Goddess of Knowledge is giving us 27% cast speed, which is accurate. We don't have any cast speed in Magister. We don't have any cast speed in Assassin. And we are getting 9 plus 30, so 39% cast speed from here. So that's accurate. Dreamweaver gives us 12% cast speed. That is accurate. We're getting 6% from our Knowledge Slate. Is there any other slate that has cast speed on it? No, does not seem that way. We're getting 24% from Secret Origin Unleash. Which, that is just that. And that's everything. So we're missing 7% cast speed from somewhere in the build that we're not accounting for. Which is very strange. Let's see if we can figure this out quickly. 1 for 1%. But we have 134 on the sheet. We're missing 7%. Where would we be getting 7% cast speed from? Is this for YouTube video? Yes, this is for YouTube video. Isn't that the negative cast speed you had on wand? It should be removed already. I don't have the negative cast speed anymore because I removed that. Which is very strange. Because 7% is not a normal number. Like 7% being an odd number makes it way more confusing. Any cast speed from pets? I mean, we have the 8%. We have 12% from here, which is accounted for. Sounds like Mega's effect or something is additional. No, it's not additional. This is just flat cast speed. Because the cast speed you see here is like your actual cast speed bonus. It's ignoring all additional. This is like the easiest way to see your actual cast speed. And it is wrong compared to the sheet. Thank you for the follow. There might need to be a cut until after we find that. The multiple megas is additional, so give an odd number. Yeah, but again, this number here isn't does not include additionals. It's just your basic cast speed. When I set up the sheet, I did not use Well Fought Battle on Secret Origin. So when we added it just now to the 1 times 1.3, we also need to add it to the cast speed, which gives us 31.2, which then puts us at 141. And that's correct again. And while I'm at it, let's quickly see if... Let's quickly just double check my slates, because those are things I've been changing a lot. make sure all of them are correct, and then I think we're ready to set off. So mark, we just do that self, jump, we did it somewhere else. We already did this, we already did this. We already did all of these. We did these. I do have +1 lightning skill. And I did this somewhere else. Okay. Yeah, everything seems fine. So with that slight error from myself fixed, we are now at 70 trillion. And we have 2.6 trillion average damage per hit. Which is very, very, very impressive. You know, you can see that we're hitting for zeros constantly. Because this build is at damage cap. Like 3 times, 6 times over, 4 times over damage cap. But anyway, YouTube, that's gonna be all from me. I hope you all have a lovely day further, and I hope this video was helpful. I know this shit can be a bit overwhelming or hard to understand. And I'll have my own sheet linked at the bottom of my character in it, so you can just edit my character and turn it into your own character. But hopefully it's like not too difficult with my explanation and going through it to understand like how to fill it out and how to get the accurate number. It does take a bit of tinkering and tweaking, but unfortunately this is just the best we have without a POB to do all the math for us. Maybe in the future there'll be a POB though. Thank you all so much for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all again another time. Bye YouTube! Bye bye!